everybody. Welcome to this October edition, this Halloween edition of the Kinetic Kudu release. So of the Ubuntu Desktop Indaba, we're going to talk about the new release that just came out yesterday. And I hope you are all excited to hear about what is new in Kinetic Kudu. With me, so I'm your host, Heather, and we have Rudra here representing Ubuntu Unity, which is our newest flavor, which is very exciting. We have Adam representing the desktop experience. Ken is one of the desktop architects who's been around for a long time. Ollie, also product manager of all kinds of things desktop. And Mauro is a community leader. Also one of the he's the driving force behind Ubuntu Summit, I would say, the organization. So anyways, hello, everybody. Hello, everybody that's like joining us. If there's a question that you have, feel free to put it in the chat and we'll try and get to it while we chat about other things. So yeah, this is exciting. We have a new release, Kinetic Kudu, with a beautiful background. So one of the really cool things about this release is that we have a brand new official flavor, and that is Unity. So Rudra, I kind of want to put you on the spot first. How did you get involved? Also, I see your shirt, very nice. And then can you tell me a little bit about how Unity came to be?
Yeah, so like I joined the Ubuntu community back when so I used to develop Android apps such as Android app builds were really slow on Windows. So I just came across Linux and just decided to try Linux distributions, and eventually I settled on Ubuntu. So yeah, that's how I started. That's how I started using Ubuntu, and then joined the Ubuntu community. Also, as for Unity, like Unity was created back in 2010 for the Ubuntu 10.10 network remix, and then it was used by default in Ubuntu 11.04, and this continued until Ubuntu 17.04, which was the last release to use Unity, the last official Ubuntu release to use Unity. And then Ubuntu switched to GNOME in 17.10, and there were a number of teams who adopted Unity and Lomidi, and Unity 8, which is now known as Lomidi. And one of those was was the Unity 7 maintainers team. So yeah. So the Unity 7 maintainers team is now maintaining Unity in like Launchpad and other places, and Ubuntu Unity and Ubuntu Unity is a flavor of Ubuntu. It just became a flavor which uses Unity 7. So yeah, that's Ubuntu Unity.
That's exciting. Yeah, it's always great to have another flavor, and I think it's pretty extra exciting that someone so young is driving this. So good job.
Plus one to that. Great
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, and as somebody who was around when we started Unity, I'm really excited to see somebody's looking after it and it's back.
Yeah, I know that there's a large community following that has asked periodically, when is Unity going to be a thing again? And now it really is. So that's pretty rad. Adam, let me throw it to you. And what kind of things are you excited about as the leader of the desktop experience?
Right. So we just released 22.10. That's a very exciting release. There's a lot of cool things in there, but some of them just pop out immediately because they are the user interface that you see. I think my favorite is the quick settings that you can now use to quickly access common things that you might want to change, like Wi-Fi, brightness, volume, audio devices, even to take a screenshots. There's a button in there, so I think that's a really cool piece of the interface that will make common tasks that much easier and with less clicks needed. And the second one is the awesome spread effect that you can use when you have a lot of windows open at the same time. If you have a very messy desktop with a lot of windows open and you want to find that specific window that you need to continue your task. Really? Yeah, that spread effect just makes everything else disappear, only the windows from that specific app, and you can click which one you want. So it's a great effect. Other thing that's new in this release is we've switched to Pipewire for our audio stack. So this is a new library replacing Pulse Audio for our audio needs. Everything should work better, particularly Bluetooth devices. Your headsets should work better. And now with the quick settings, you can quickly test it out with your Bluetooth headphones if you have any. We also have in this release for the first time GTK4 apps included. So there's a bunch of them, but I particularly like the file manager that has the dynamic UI that is updated depending on how you resize the window. So if you make it very small, the sidebar disappears and you have just the icons. And when you make it larger and larger, the appropriate UI comes in to use the new space that you are giving it. So I think that's cool. And for gaming, we ship a kernel that has a very specific syscall that will help with games that are run under Wine or Proton. So it's a specific syscall that uses footaccess. Maybe that's a more technical detail, but the bottom line is games running on your system on Ubuntu 22.10 should be faster.
That's great. It's exciting. And since you joined us recently, right? How long have you been here, and like, what was your background before?
Oh, sure, yeah. So I joined in September, and I'm the product manager focusing on desktop experience, as mentioned. I will try to do gaming stuff as well. I've previously been very involved with the KDE community, actually, as a project coordinator there. And otherwise, I've been a product owner in a working for a company that dealt with internet security, online authentication for corporations and banks. So I'm very happy to move to more exciting things now.
Yeah, that's exciting. Well, I'm glad that you're here with us, and yeah, thanks for like the updates on your end. I mean, you talked a little bit about gaming, so I'd like to kind of move on to Ken and say, Ken, would you like to expand on like what's new in gaming?
Sure. Yeah, so we've been quite busy partially building up a team to focus on improving that gaming experience on Linux and Ubuntu. Some of the things that we've been doing is, I think most everybody's seen that we are now delivering Steam as a snap. Some of the rationale behind that is really in the past, people would often find PPAs to enable and things like that to get newer versions of various things like Mesa on their system to improve their gaming experience. Some games needed newer versions of this, that, or the other thing kind of thing. And you would need to enable PPAs and other repositories or download debs from random websites in order to get your system into a state where it could play the games you wanted to play. We want to kind of make this much cleaner, right? We can deliver these things in a snap without tainting your host. Like, enabling PPAs can be great for some people, but it can be risky. Like, you don't know who's maintaining those packages in those PPAs, what might get introduced later. So we can deliver those things as part of the snap. So now you get the newest Mesa inside that container that's running your game without making your system unstable. So part of that now, the Steam Snap includes the Mesa that's built in the OIBAF, I think is how you pronounce it, PPA, which is a commonly enabled PPA for people who want newer versions of Mesa and other parts of the graphic stack. It's very bleeding edge. The version that's in the now is 22.3 plus snapshots from Git. So it's very aggressive. Nobody should need anything newer than that. We're working a bit to make this user selectable. So we're going to be building out a content snap, which is already in the works, that will have different snap tracks that you can choose your risk aversion, basically. Like you want that OIBAF version, or maybe you want the KISSAC PPA, which is the latest stable release, plus some specific backports, as opposed to like the latest development. Or maybe you want the KISSAC Turtle, which is something else that some people like to enable, which is a newer version than what we have in Ubuntu, but more stable, or not more stable. It's newer, but stable without taking risks. So we'll provide the ability for you to choose what version of Mesa you want to use inside your Steam Snap. So we're working on that right now. We've recently done some work to enable game mode in the Steam Snap. It's something a lot of gamers like to do. Is game mode is something that tells your host to give priority to that process that's running your game, so it can take priority over other apps you may have running on your system. So we did some work there. We've got some the necessary bits for that are in the Steam Snap already, but in order to really take advantage of it, it also requires some changes to the desktop portals on the host. We're still waiting for those changes to land, so stay tuned for that. So game mode will work soon. And we're working to do the same thing for Mango HUD. A lot of people like to use Mango HUD. We're going to bundle that right there in the Steam Snap, and you can choose whether or not you want to use that. So those are a few of the things we're working on right now. We've also just landed a new Steam report tool as part of the Steam Snap. So now if you want to report the status of a game, whether or not it works or doesn't work in the Steam Snap, you can just run steam.report and the name of your game in a terminal, and it will open up a GitHub discussion pre-populated with some interesting information that we want to collect from your system on, like the version of the host that you're running, what version of the Steam Snap you have, what version of Snapd do you have, those sorts of things. That's interesting for us in debugging problems, or even we want to hear what successes as well. If a game works great for you, it would be great if we had posts on that as well, so we can see what works and what doesn't work. Some other things we've done recently, we fixed a number of issues that were necessary to make various versions of NVIDIA drivers work in Snapd for games. So we think those issues are all sorted out now, and we would love feedback. So if people could run the Steam report tool, would be very, very much appreciated. And that's kind of it for now.
That's really exciting. That provides like a direct line for the community to like report back how things are going, so that it shows that we're really staying on top of caring about that while we fill out our gaming team. So that's really exciting to hear.
Yeah. And one of the things we really want to do with that is we want to be able to collect that data and measure that against what ProtonDB reports as should work or shouldn't work. Because we want to ensure that with the Steam Snap, we are always at least as good as what ProtonDB advertises for a game. We don't want to degrade the experience. We want the experience to be better. And along with that, we're also, now that we've built out the team, we're going to start engaging more with some of those other projects like Proton, for example, on how we can improve those experiences inside of a Snap and make more things work better. And even outside of the Snap, just areas where we can improve that ecosystem, we're going to start investing in.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. That's very exciting.
Speaking
Cool.
of Snap, I have a question. Ollie, how about the Firefox Snap? How is the work going there?
Yes, well, I thought we were maybe due a part 2 since our last Indaba about the Firefox Snap performance. So we've been a little quiet on the blog posts for the last couple of months, but that's not because we've moved away from it. Far from it. We've got a team of folks from desktop, from the Snapd team, still beavering away, looking at things we can do to optimize performance, not just for Firefox, but for all desktop snaps. And actually, a lot of the stuff that we did for the Firefox snap has actually gone into the Steam snap as well. So the Steam snap uses LZO compression and things like that. So there's a few things in the pipeline there to improve the Firefox experience specifically. Like one is our sort of number one issue that we're working on at the moment is support for native messaging. So that's getting you access to things like KeyPass and other sort of GNOME extensions. So we're very, very close to a fix there. There's some active discussion around getting that into Firefox at the moment. So stay tuned for that. That leverages the desktop portals that the GNOME team are working on, and that solution will actually also help us with the game mode integration on the Steam Snap as well. So there's a shared solution there, and that seems to be sort of the number one thing that people in the community are still expecting us to sort out soon, as they should. So that's coming together nicely. The other thing that we're working on is the update prompts. I'm sure everyone is familiar with the fact that they only have 12 days before Firefox has an update. So we are working on some better user experience on actioning that update, making sure it applies automatically when you interact with the pop-up and things like that. So that is also our other sort of big thing in active development as well. For 2210, we've actually got another small performance bump because the kernel now enables multi-threaded squashFS decompression. And so what that means is if you're on multi-core machines, then you're likely to see quite a nice difference there in Snap startup time as well. So a little performance improvement, those two big issues in the pipeline. In the background, we've been working on things like debug symbols and support for PDF viewers and stuff like that. And those have already landed. We're going to round that up in a nice big update once we've got native messaging out there and we've addressed the update notification warning. So that's our current state of play for the Firefox Snap.
Great. Since you spoke about 2210, how about the 2210 on Raspberry Pi? Is there anything exciting going on there?
Yeah, so there's a couple of cool things for the Raspberry Pi. I actually went to visit Raspberry Pi trading for the first time on Tuesday. Had a lovely poke around the offices and chatted to Gordon, who's the CTO of Raspberry Pi. And he has provided us with some nice Raspberry Pi 4s for Ubuntu Summit. So I'll be carrying those in my suitcase imminently to go to Prague. But as you probably know, getting hold of a Raspberry Pi 4 is quite challenging at the moment. So one of the things we thought we would do in the meantime is invest a bit more in support for the devices that are maybe a little easier to purchase at the moment. So we've done a lot of effort on how do we support the Raspberry Pi Pico, which is the super cheap, amazingly cheap microcontroller. The Pico W came out earlier this year and has Wi-Fi support. So that's a microcontroller. It doesn't run Linux, but what we've done is work on bringing the MicroPython development stack into Ubuntu 2210, so that you can get tools like R Shell, Thonny, MP Remote for MicroPython development. So those are all now in the Ubuntu repositories, and you can apt install those and get started on the Pico. So we really wanted to make sure that for the hardware people can get hold of at the moment, that Ubuntu is giving them a really nice experience. The other cool thing we've been working on, a little bit of Pi and desktop overlap again, is support for embedded displays. So we've actually been moving the graphics stack for Ubuntu over from something called fake KMS, FKMS, to full KMS, not FKMS, it's called KMS now. And I constantly get that wrong, but it's definitely that way around, I've checked. And what that means is the kernel has a lot more control over the graphics output, and it means that the embedded displays you can get with the Raspberry Pi are actually just treated like a normal display from the perspective of Ubuntu. And so what that means is a lot of displays, thanks to that transition, and now work essentially, with a little bit of tweaking out of the box. So that means there's a whole bunch of new displays that now work for Ubuntu and the Raspberry Pi. I think there's the hyperpixel range. There's the Raspberry Pi official touchscreen, and there's a number of e-ink hats as well, which is always very cool. Dave on the Raspberry Pi team at Canonical, he was showing me Ubuntu desktop running on a hyperpixel display like this. And you can see the benefits of the GNOME 43 GDK4 touch and scaling supports, because it's you can launch a Firefox and change your quick settings and all of that, and it works. I'm probably not going to use that as my daily driver, but definitely a fun novelty. So yeah, embedded displays, one big thing. Microcontroller development, other big thing. I think those are really cool new additions to the sort of Pi developer experience there. Super happy about that in this release.
That's really exciting. As I'm glad I got my Pi 4 before they were hard to find. Yeah. Okay. Very cool. So I wanted to, tomorrow, do you want to talk a little bit about the Ubuntu Summit?
Sure. How many hours do we have, or days?
Well, I mean,
Yes.
as the driver from the community standpoint, maybe it's nice to hear from you about that. How's that going?
Actually, it's going great. This has been my focus actually since I joined, and this is a first community-oriented event that we are hosting, and we have been hosting in 10 years. I have checked. The last UDS was 10 years ago. It was a UDS, Ubuntu Developer Summit. This one is the Ubuntu Summit. We removed the developer from the name of the event. We are not removing the developers from the event. Developers are super welcome. We just wanted to remove a little bit of the emphasis that only if you're a developer, you can contribute to an open source project, which is just not true. And we are broadening a little bit the scope, welcoming people from different backgrounds and experiences. So the event is happening in Prague, in Czech Republic, November 7th to 9th. And registrations are still open. Anybody can register. You should definitely come. We're going to have a lot of very interesting topics, sessions, talks, workshops, and we're going to have a great closing party. No spoilers. I would definitely recommend everybody that can make it to join us in Prague. It would be a great experience.
I don't know if you're sworn to secrecy, Mauro, but are there a couple of workshops or talks that you're particularly excited about?
Yes, a very long list. We are going to have robotics workshop. Gabrielle from our robotics team has worked for a few months with a company that makes robots. They're bringing robots and they're going to show us how to use them with Ubuntu. And the workshop is open for everybody to join, and I think it's going to be very exciting. And for once, we wanted to target these to robots that people can actually buy. We thought it was not very community focused to show you an Indianapolis car that sure, it's cool, but you can't really afford. And these robots, actually, if you want to tinker and you want to get involved, you can buy one for a reasonable price. We have invited the creator and maintainer of Ardor, Paul Davis. Robin is also joining us. They're going to show us there's a very new release with very new, exciting features that many people especially I think in the podcasting world, would enjoy. We have invited Matthew from Lutris. He has submitted a talk about Linux gaming. Very excited to have him at the event. Adam, I'm very sure that you'll also pick his brain on some gaming stuff.
There's actually a gaming panel happening, so a lot of gaming discussions will be happening there.
Yeah, and we have invited people that are more technical. You can learn many things about infrastructure, about containers as well. LXD, Juju, and Charm. We have invited the designers that will talk to us about how you design using Ubuntu, Linux, and open source software. This is very exciting. We have invited podcasters that do podcasting only using Ubuntu, Linux, free and open source. So this is a little bit of the theme, broadening the scope and showing and listening to very different experiences of people excited about Ubuntu, about Linux, and about open source software.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very exciting event for sure. But if people cannot attend in person, because I know it is far for some, you can always attend remotely. So there will be information up about links to attend. And I think everybody here on video here is going to be in Prague, right? Rudra, you'll be
Yes.
there, right? Yeah, that's so exciting. Yeah, wow, it'll be great. So Philip actually had a good question. He wants to hear more about the gaming panel. Adam, want to expand on that?
Oh, right. So the idea is to get gamers in one room and talk about what are their wish lists for gaming on Linux, on Ubuntu, their pain points, their ideas, how to improve the experience, everything that we can do to make that experience better. So I expect a lot of discussion, and the feedback that will be gathered there will be directly used to build a roadmap for our gaming team that Ken earlier mentioned that we are building inside Canonical. And worst case scenario, gamers in a room, we have a LAN party.
Yeah, no, I think that's exciting, and Rudra is also interested in the gaming panel, so I'm sure you'll have some good insights to kind of throw our way. Oh, here's a question about what do we have for content creators in game? I mean, we kind of talked about the gaming panel and the gaming track. We have some gaming talks. Mauro, do you have? Can you speak a little bit to what we have for general content creators?
Yes, we have actually created a specific track for design and content creation. We have invited podcasters. As I said before, there is also the author of Ardor, a couple of developers from Ardor. That's very much one of the tools that many content creators use. We have invited a lot of content creators. Actually, we have people from Tax Digital. We have 2.5 admins. That's one of the shows where you might have heard Joe Ressington. Joe Ressington can't come, but his colleagues will come. We have Marius from NerdZoom. The Linux lads. The Linux lads are coming, and they're also recording one of their podcast episodes live at the show, and they are going to involve the audience and ask questions. So because we have opportunity for BOF sessions at the event, given that we have a lot of content creators and designers, if somebody from the audience has questions, it would be very good to ask them at the event or during the event, or even better before the event, so that some of the questions can be asked during one of the sessions. That's a great idea.
Yeah, but what about OBS?
If there are questions about OBS, there's a lot of OBS experts. I know for sure that Michael Tannell from Tux Digital is an OBS wizard. It is told that he has more scenes configured than keys in your keyboard. So if you ask the question, you need to be ready for a very long answer. So be careful what you wish for.
That's exciting. Yeah, the Ubuntu Summit is going to be a great time, and I look forward to all the talks and workshops and panels and all of the evening events and such. Yeah, and it's cool that it's coming, right after Kinetic Kudu. So, if there was something that we talked about today that you don't really quite understand, you can come and ask the experts, and we can show you. Kind of going back to the release stuff. Excuse me. What kinds of things I'd like to do, like a roundtable, and talk about what to expect in the next release. First of all, Ken, Ollie, do we have the next name?
We do not, do we, Ken? You've got some ideas. You've got some suggestions. But,
I have some suggestions, and I have started the process internally to get that name chosen. I can leak a little bit of information. It will start with the letter L. It will start with the letter L.
You heard it here first.
As a Sesame Street watcher, the letter of the day is L, everybody.
Breaking news.
Yes, right. Well, Ken, do you want to take it, and can you give us any insights in what we can find or what we can look forward to in LL?
Well, that's a good question. We are in the thick of planning LL right now, because next week we are having our product sprint in Prague. So some of us will be in Prague for multiple weeks leading up to the summit. So we're actively in that planning state right now. I can tell you some of the things that we will be working on is for example, one of the things we planned on for Kinetic, which got a little bit delayed, is quarter tiling in GNOME. We plan on picking that work back up and trying to deliver it for LL. I think that will be a very exciting feature. We're going to start at least speccing out the work, and I'm not sure if we can deliver it in LL, but some work towards HDR and 10-bit support in GNOME. I think that's very desirable, and we are, looking to invest in that space. So we're going to start at least planning that work. We'll see how far we can get. More work towards the Steam Snap, improving that ecosystem. Of course, we'll continue on that path. Ollie, do you have anything you want to highlight?
Well, I think one of the things I'm looking forward to is our move to Subiquity. I think we've been working on that for a long time. I think that's I think finishing the testing, the final tweaks, putting the sprinkles on the top of that will be important. I think moving to Subiquity is going to be really useful.
Yeah. So for everybody's background, not for me, with Subiquity, our new installer is based on Subiquity, which is the server installer. We've been working on this for several cycles now, and we are finally going to switch to it in 2304. So when you download 2304, you will get a brand new installer. Some people internally refer to it as the Flutter installer, but don't get that confused. It does not install Flutter. It's just we wrote it with Flutter. But a lot of the work that we've done in the Flutter ecosystem has evolved around the work we've been doing on the installer. Some, custom widgets and Yaru styling and all those things that we've done in that Flutter ecosystem has been to deliver this new installer. And it's a graphical front end to the same installer that the server uses. And there's a lot of nice benefits from that, like, for example, auto installation. So you could like precede your install to answer some of the questions that the UI will ask you. And we can automate more of the installation that way. This will be very important when we pull together our full provisioning story for like enterprise deployments and things like that. So these are very critical features. So we're really looking forward to delivering this new installer. We put a lot of work into it. And that's going to be a very exciting thing for 2304.
And then we've got that little Easter egg in 2210 Ubuntu software hidden away. Maybe Adam could talk about that.
Right. So it's always hard to talk about the next release the day after the previous release, right? Because it's so far away. But actually, it's something that you can test out today, along with the new installer that was mentioned, that you can test in Canary images right now, and we encourage you to do so. There's a way to switch to a preview channel for the App Store for the Ubuntu software that will completely change the thing that you're getting to a new Flutter-based, beautiful, snappy, quick App Store. So we actually released a blog post today that has the instructions how to do so. There's some screenshots there, but I encourage you to test it out on your system. You can do it right now, even on 2204 if you wish. And yeah, no deadlines, no dates committed for that store, but I encourage you to check it out.
Yeah, a fun thing to mention on that is we're actually collaborating with the Ubuntu Flutter community, which is a very exciting community to be part of, which is responsible for things like the Yaru widgets and the Yaru Dart packages, those sorts of things for Flutter apps. Frederick from that community started the software store app. So we're working with that community to deliver the new store experience. So this will be our default Ubuntu software at some point in the future. Like I said, I'm not committing to when. It would be great if that was 2304, but I can't promise that. There's still a lot of work to be done. We want to make sure we deliver something just simply amazing, and I have lots of confidence that we'll be able to do that. But I can't say with confidence that it'll be in 2304. Just expect it to come soon. And anybody who wants to follow along and use something that could break at any time, feel free to install the preview channel. That is actually regular builds on every commit to the repository. So, we do have tests in place. Things shouldn't break, but they could break. But you will get a glimpse at what the future will look like. And it's already pretty amazing. It is very fast. I like the word that Adam used, snappy. That was a term we used to use very often in the Snap world when we first started with Snaps, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago. We called it snappy. So it's very fitting.
Yeah, kind of just continuing on that thread, I think that same Flutter community has worked a little bit on some other like GNOME software apps, like the Control Center. And, I saw an OMG Ubuntu article about that. Any chance that will make it in?
We're not really thinking a lot about that right now. We're focusing our energy on the software experience. I'm not ruling it out. He's done a great job there of creating a settings app that does a lot of the things that GNOME Control Center does today. But again, we don't have like a burning need to replace that right now. But I'm not going to say we'll never look to that. We'll see. But right now we're in good shape, I think, for settings.
I think our sort of goal here is like, what are the things that are that on Ubuntu are very specific sort of requirements to support Ubuntu. I think, like in general, the things that we think about from a Flutter perspective are areas where we need to add like special Ubuntu source to make it work, because things like the installer, where there are very specific elements to that process that we need to play with and iterate on and surface, and with Ubuntu software, that's how do we interact nicely with the Snap Store, but also the dev world as well. And so those are sort of problems that are unique to Ubuntu, or challenges that we want to overcome and deliver a really great polished user experience. So that's sort of how we think about areas where we might bring Flutter into the mix. We don't want to sort of mess with what's not broken. I think GNOME 43 and GDK4 providing just absolutely fantastic, slick experience on the whole. It's the areas where we have to play with things and tune them for Ubuntu that where Flutter really shines.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and
there is something very exciting. Oh, go ahead, Adam.
I just wanted to say that there's maybe no reason to port a piece of software for Flutter just for porting's sake, right? You want to make something cool with it. You can make settings app cool, but you can make an app store very cool, So there's the opportunity to bring some cool things in there. So you can see why some things are prioritized, right?
Yeah, I wanted to say there's something very exciting that everybody can test right now in 22.10. As the switch was made to Pipewire, there's a new package that made it into the archive in 22.10, which is called Easy Effects. And Easy Effects is what we can call the successor of Pulse Effects, which Pulse Effects was for Pulse Audio, and Easy Effect is compatible with Pipewire. And it's a very easy way where if you want to add effect to your microphone, like a noise gate so you don't hear things that are in the background, or a compressor to limit the voice input. And it's very easy to install. It's the performance is very good, and anybody on 22.10 can test it right away.
Yeah, that's great. Good point. I have to say I've been using Pipewire and it's been just smooth, just really nice. So wonder if those memes about audio on Linux are going to start to die away now with Pulse Audio. Okay, so continuing on that, like what can we look forward to in the next release? I wanted to shift it to Rudra and see, like, as a new flavor, what kind of things are you excited about in Unity for the next release?
Yeah, so we're actively working on like new features like support for different refresh rates in Unity settings diamond. So currently in Unity Control Center you cannot change the refresh rate directly, and you have to write auto start scripts, change the refresh rate out of the box to change the refresh rate. Like we're planning to integrate support for changing the refresh rate into Unity settings diamond, and we're also working on replacing old components and apps and the outdated indicators with other Itana packages, which are being used by many other desktop environments such as Mari, Lumidi, etc. And then we're also working on adding extension support to the Unity shell and are porting Unity 7 to like other Linux distributions like Arch Linux and Fedora. So yeah, we expect some of these features to be released with Wave 3 or 4. So yeah, that's what's coming next.
That's exciting. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go try out Unity for sure. I used Unity a long time ago, but yeah, no, this is great. So that's exciting. So we have a question here I'd like to highlight. Can someone comment on the awesome return of Unity and the future of Ubuntu? I think that's what Rudra was just talking about. But yeah, there's a collaboration there, and if there's anything that Unity needs, I mean, we're just a message away from helping solve problems there. But do you want to speak any more to this specifically, Rudra?
I mean, like there are many people. Like Jeremy Peter, for example, who's also from the desktop team, he's been helping a lot with like Unity 7 development, and then Mark Oates too. So yeah, there are many people at Canonical who are actively helping with the development of Unity 7. So
It's not dying. It's
yeah,
there.
it's not time.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah, so I just want to remind folks, if you have any questions about the new release or about the upcoming Ubuntu Summit or anything about Ubuntu, just like pop them in here. Oh, one thing, yeah, Rudra, where can people join the Ubuntu Unity community?
Oh yeah, so the Ubuntu Unity and Unity community is on Telegram and Matrix. So like I guess I could share the Telegram group's link here in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's forum too for Ubuntu Unity, or you could create threads for Ubuntu Unity on Discourse and ask Ubuntu, since Ubuntu Unity is an official flavor now. So yeah, I'll just share the clip for the Telegram. I'll just send the Telegram clip link in the comment. I'm in the chat.
Yeah, great. So if you're interested in joining the community, Netscape, you certainly can. Also, one other thing I wanted to kind of highlight here. Oh, I guess I shouldn't have picked it. I should just paste it in here. Is Adam mentioned this blog post earlier. And so I wanted to just say, go check out this new blog post about what's new in Kinetic Kudu. And then yeah, here's some here's where you can find the Telegram group for Unity. So we can include these links in the discourse thread where we announced this Indaba as well, so you can refer back to it. Yeah, that it's all very exciting. I'm happy to be part of this new release, and yeah. Mauro, is there anything besides the Ubuntu Summit that you wanted to highlight about the community?
There's a lot of work that Philip is lining up. We're very excited. We are a little bit focused on the summit, which is coming in a couple of weeks, but I want to reassure everybody that we care deeply about the Ubuntu community. And if there are any questions or any concerns, you can reach out to us anytime, and we'll be very happy to hear feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. Any final comments from you all here on one last thing to highlight or things to look forward to or call to action? Any call to actions? Adam's
Yes.
got a big head nod.
Yes.
Okay, go for it.
You can actually download Ubuntu 22.10 right now. You can update if you're on a previous release. You can download fresh. In that blog post that was posted, there's instructions at the bottom. You can have the new stuff that we're talking about today right now. Just after we finish the Indaba here, you can do it. You can have it for free. Yep.
There you go. It's very easy to navigate there. Or if you are running Ubuntu already, you can use do release upgrade to get the
I want
latest
to do a final shout out, if that's okay. So one thing that actually came out at the same time as 2210 is the landscape beta for 2210. So landscape is our sort of Ubuntu fleet management tool, right? So that sounds very enterprisey and less community-y. But one of the cool things that I've been doing in the background is that the landscape beta actually runs on ARM now. And so one of the little projects that I recommend people to try out is to install landscape on a Raspberry Pi. Because if you're anything like me, you probably have a few Raspberry Pis kicking around the house, watering your plants or blocking ads or that sort of thing, and you don't want to go in SSHing apt update, apt upgrade all the time, so you probably left them all out of date. If you have a little landscape server, I've actually got one in a little Lexi container on my Raspberry Pi. You can just automate all of that stuff, and your home IoT setup can be always up to date, and you can apply all sorts of other fantastic scripts and things as well. But I think it's definitely worth checking out if you've got a little home lab setup. Our Raspberry Pi management story with Landscape. I think it's very cool, and I keep going on about it to everyone in the team. But I highly recommend people check that out.
Yeah, and yes, folks, Ollie does actually water his plants via a Raspberry Pi, as people do.
I mean, I followed a tutorial about like 5 years ago or something to set up the same thing. And then I was like, oh, this is really neat, but it doesn't scale well to like all of my plants.
My question is, which would you rather do? Spend 5 minutes every couple of weeks pouring water into your plants, or spend like an entire week of coding and buying random hardware to make something that breaks a lot? And
that's it.
Once every couple of weeks, your poor plants, Oliver. I now see why you needed the Raspberry Pis.
They burst into flames. So. This is the challenge, right? This is the challenge.
Well, the water can put out the flames, huh?
Yeah, that was my. Yeah, it's not a bug, it's a feature.
Right. Well, I think the landscape. I mean, that's a really good point. I think that is there a blog post out there that kind of.
So there is one about how you can get hold of the beta. It's just come out. I think it came out yesterday. So you can get hold of the beta. It talks about the ARM support. I might actually write something on my personal blog about how I got it set up, because I've spent the last month sort of migrating my home lab into a glorious Raspberry Pi 4 filled with Lexi containers with NetPlan bridges and landscape maintenance, and I'm very proud of it. But so I might write a little blog specifically about landscape and Raspberry Pi. But yes, that's my secret extra cool thing that I really enjoyed this month.
Yeah, I think a blog post tutorial style thing would be exciting for a lot.
I would like that.
Yeah, I would like that as well, personally. Having never used Landscape, but I've heard of it. So I think that sounds good. Any other final things before we close? Final questions? Otherwise, I just want to thank everybody for coming and watching and being excited about the new release with us. We're all very excited. Yeah. We're all very excited to see folks in Prague, to put, names to faces, handles to faces. So if you are going to Prague, be sure to come and say hi to us. We're always happy to meet new community members or existing ones, or just have a chat. But yeah, really appreciate everybody's time, and I think we'll call it just a few minutes early this round. The next Indaba actually is going to be in Prague, and it's going to be somewhat related. So it's going to be about the release process. So we'll have the release manager there, as well as Seb, who's on the desktop team and has been since the beginning. So some of the long timers that really know the release process quite well, to talk about all of the virtual paperwork that kind of goes into releasing new updates and just how it works. So be sure to join us. That's going to be on November 4th. And it's going to be a bunch of us in the same room passing a microphone around. So that's kind of cool. Instead of just, a whole bunch of video cams. So yeah, look forward to that. And yeah, we have some exciting Indabas, lined up. But yeah, the next one, November 4th, we haven't hashed out the time exactly yet, but be sure to look for that discourse post. and I hope to see you there. So, all right. Well, thanks everybody. We'll end the broadcast and see you in a couple of weeks.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.